Hello. Thank you for joining. I know this is an early stream. And I hope you're enjoying your breakfast. Today I'm just hoping to get some editing done for Runaways, but I am overanalyzing every line, especially since these are the first lines. So in that 25-minute sprint, I got 68 words done, which is kind of pitiful, but we're getting there. These are the line edits, and so I really want to make sure that every word really counts. Well, this is like round one of the line edits. I'm gonna, after this draft is done, send it to my line editor, and then he'll put it through another round of copy and line edits, so it'll be torn to shreds again, but all good work. What are you working on today? Oh, nice. Congratulations. I have never written a second book in a series. It seems very intimidating, and so I wish you the best of luck with that. Side stories are always fun, though. I've written a number of those for the Runaways universe. It sounds good. Let me know when you're ready to get started with the next sprint then. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How's the querying going? I know it's usually referred to as being in the trenches. I know it can be really hard out there. But having the second one ready to go while you're working on the first one definitely seems like the best shot. Yeah, people who go the traditional publishing route are so brave. I knew early on I wanted to try self-publishing because I didn't want to deal with querying, and that it feels like the coward's way out sometimes, but I wish you all the best of luck. That is so scary and so intimidating, and I am so proud of everybody who goes through that, because it is such a hard process, and you deserve to find an agent who's willing to be in your corner. Oh, that's so frustrating. Yeah. I feel like so much of modern society has lost the ability to be patient with a story. Like, I read a lot of classics just because I grew up on classics. My mom had a rule every time we went to the library that I had to pick out like 2 nonfiction books and like a classic, like one of the classics abridged stories, for each like fun modern fiction book that I picked out, you know, like 39 Clues or Percy Jackson, you know, whatever was popular at the time. And so I was reading like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Swiss Family Robinson, and, you know, thick, chunky books which require a lot of setup, and it's just like long tangents about fish and stuff. And, you know, it's really fun, and you have to sometimes read a 10-page long fish tangent in order to get back to the main plot. Or I read The Count of Monte Cristo, and like 90% of that book is set up for the last 10 pages where it all comes crumbling down, and it's so satisfying. And so much of modern media has just lost the ability to be patient with a story and just wait for the payoff. And I think that it's really robbed you of the ability to enjoy that payoff. Because reading through The Count of Monte Cristo is so satisfying. And so I don't know, I'm very biased, but I think that it's doing attention span a disservice, especially with social media being what it is. I don't know. I refuse to. Everybody has the right to DNF a book, but a book has to be like really, 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 really poorly written for me to DNF it. But I will power through pretty much anything on the hopes that there will be like a good payoff in the end. But there's going to be like 17 typos a sentence for me to DNF something. Because I want to give stuff that chance. But yeah, I hope the publishing industry gives you a chance. I think that that's definitely a problem with the industry and then just culture in general right now. But I also think that there are readers out there who will like books like that and enjoy stuff like that. I mean, Sanderson's found his audience with Stormlight, and I don't know if you're writing fantasy, but like the Wheel of Time people, I have yet to tackle that. You know, there's people out there. Yeah, you just need the one to find your audience. It may not have like widespread appeal, but you need your small but strong audience, which is the important thing. Yeah, I'm proud of you for sticking it out. 1890s is such a fun time period. I think we were talking about this story on our last live stream, and I'm trying to remember what you said about it, because I have a very bad memory. But it sounded like a very cool story when we were talking about it then. Yeah, no cell phones. These kids and their damn phones. I don't know if you watch Overly Sarcastic Productions, but there is a really good trope talk that Red OSP did about those damn phones. And it talks about how because of because we have phones now, it's really hard to write. Sometimes it's hard to write stories where phones don't exist. Yeah, have you seen it? It's like one of my favorite trope talks that she's ever done, and it's so good. It's so good. I was running a D&D game, and that came out towards the beginning of our D&D game, and it had a sending stone, and I was like, wait a minute, you guys have been using this sending stone all wrong. It's supposed to be like one message, like one telegram per day. And so I like restricted their sending stone access. And then like one of the big things like at the end of the game was that they got like an unlimited sending plan. So now they can use sending stone like an actual phone with like text messages and unlimited sendings per day and not a word count limit. And it's and that was like one of the on-running gags of our game. But I think it's so fascinating. Jumping to a different song. But yeah, it's so good. I love Overly Sarcastic. They've been one of my favorite YouTube channels for forever. Yeah, I've not seen Critical Role, but I know some of my players have, and so they were joking about it, and then I just kind of yes-anded it into being a thing. Yeah, sure. I can get started. Let me switch over to the screen. Happy writing. Sprint's done? How did it go for you? Let me check my mic is on. Can you hear me? Hello. I give you so much credit for writing historical fiction because I have considered writing historical fiction a couple of times, and the idea of doing that kind of research makes me. I know it's going to send me down a rabbit hole because I love history, and I know it's just going to send me down a rabbit hole. Or, like, not quite historical fiction, but like AU historical fiction. I don't know. That seems possibly better, arguably worse. I don't know. But I'm glad you were able to get some progress made, as chaotic as it may be. I stopped agonizing over my first line and decided I'm just moving on, and so I went from like 50 words to 450 words, so I'm pretty pleased with that, but I'm still in the first scene, so. Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of in line with our earlier conversation about like readers need to be patient. I don't really subscribe to the first line or even the first page should grab the reader's attention right away. Like, I feel like a reader should at least give the first scene some credit, you know? If I can't immediately grab your attention in the first line, like, or the first paragraph, and you're gonna give up on a book that quickly, like, then you don't deserve to be reading my book. I don't know. I'm not gonna put that much pressure on that. Or even the first chapter, like, I don't know. Maybe my editor will think differently, but I'm not gonna agonize about it that hard. Yeah, like you don't want to start off with like a 10-page long info dump, but like setup is important, but like I'm not starting with an info dump. I'm starting with like a bonding moment between two sisters. So like I think it's okay. It's not the worst thing that's ever been written. I hate cake. Oh my gosh. That's a good hook though. Here, let me copy this one. That's my first line, and then it turns out that the monster in her closet turns out to be her sister. Like, so it's like subverting the whole, you know, dark and stormy night, monster in your closet kind of kid horror. It's a middle grade book, you know. But then her sister turns out to be a changeling, you know, so monster in her closet, you know. I don't know. There's layers here, but symbolism. I give this draft to some of my beta readers from the first round, and I think my favorite part about getting their comments back the second time was all of their comments being like, wait a minute, you fucker, this was symbolism all along, this is foreshadowing, wait, I caught this. And that was a lot of fun. Being like, ha 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 ha, I see what you're doing here. Because like I have no guarantee that people are gonna reread this book out in the wild whenever I publish it. Like there's no, if people buy it, like how do I know they're gonna reread it? I'm not gonna see their reactions. Like it's just gonna be out in the wild at that point. Like it's, I don't think I'm gonna have a fandom. People aren't gonna be writing meta about this, you know. But the beta readers, they're people I can hold hostage. So I don't know. Ah, you're good. You're totally fine. I forgot that you were beta reading for a hot minute. I didn't recognize your screen name. Now I remember who you are. I'm so sorry. But yeah, you're fine. I think I have enough feedback that I can keep editing at this point. But I've got 2 pages done. This first chapter has been edited like 17 times though at this point, so like I'm not super worried about it. It's like chapters 7 and 8, like the middle part that I wrote. Yeah, so do I. Quinn is my friend. Sierra Art on Tumblr. Yeah, that's fair. I think this will be like draft. I mean, I don't know how I'm really numbering these, but this is like rounding draft 5 now. After my editor, it'll be draft 6-ish, and then the proofread will be like a draft 6.5 or draft 7, depending on how much proofreading there's to do. But like after that, proofreading is just like grammar and editing. So like, does that really count as a draft? A version, maybe? Draft 6.2? I don't know. At some point you stop counting. You're just kind of like, it is what it is. Yeah, exactly. Like my first chapters 1 through 5 have had upwards of 5 or 6 drafts, but then chapters 5 through 14, or like 8 through 14, have had like two drafts maybe, if that. So they're a lot rougher around the edges, and you can tell. Yeah, there's a couple chapters that were patchwork together where it's like, here's the old part, here's the new part, here's where I'm stitching it together. And so it's just kind of like weird, where like stuff isn't really meshing that well. Yeah. So I think this draft that I'm doing now is just smoothing over all of those edges and making it all feel like it's all been edited the same amount, even though it definitely hasn't. So, I don't know, we'll see. Ready to get started on another sprint? All right, happy writing. Alright, that's another sprint done. Got about 300 words that time, 250. Pretty good progress. Hello. How did that sprint go for you? More progress on the short story is good. Yeah, you can ask me something if you want. There's no really rules for this stream. It's just kind of informal. I chat between writing sprints, and whoever's on the chat, we just talk about whatever. So I built my website with WordPress.com. I started it about, 3.5 years ago. I started it in 2020. I had just finished the first draft of my bookstore J, and I'd been on Tumblr for about a year, and so I was like, I need to have a place. The appeal of a website is that it's a place on the internet that isn't affected by social media platforms. So every time Tumblr sells out to Automatic or Yahoo or a different company and it crashes and burns and there's a huge influx or exodus of users from a site, or Instagram is crashing and burning for whatever reason, or Elon Musk buys Twitter, or Reddit has an API crash, or social media goes to hell. That's not really a stable way to build a platform, because we've seen it crash and burn and you can lose an entire platform overnight, or the TikTok ban is happening. So a website is a way that you can own your own little corner of the internet and nobody can control it or change it but you. That's kind of the appeal of a website. There's also no community, because it's your own website, but you can run a blog. And then what social media does is it's like a funnel. And so I use social media like a funnel. So I cross post all my blog stuff, and I use social media to have the community, and then I'm like, if you like what I'm doing, go to the blog. And so I use social media to funnel everybody over to my website. So that way it's just kind of a home base. The traffic on my website isn't nearly as much as what I get on Tumblr, or the kind of interactions that I get on Instagram. I don't get as many comments or conversations over there, but it's still a home base that's just mine. So I built it on WordPress, and WordPress is fairly intuitive to use. You don't have to know how to code. You don't have to know any HTML or CSS or anything like that. It's kind of a drag and drop editor. Actually, I can screen share because I have the OBS thing. I don't mind sharing this. Media source. Let me just get this set up. You should be able to see my screen here. Kind of. In a minute. But this is kind of what the WordPress dashboard looks like from the back end. So you can see my stats on a day-to-day basis. And then the post editor, if you want to make a new post, there's no code involved. It just kind of looks like, it'll load in a second. My computer's checking. It just kind of looks like this. And so if you want to add images, there's an image block. If you want to add, when I link to my YouTube videos, there's a YouTube link block, stuff like that. And then for text, you don't have to do you can bold it, italicize it, that sort of thing. And there's options to use HTML if you want to use HTML, but you don't have to. All that being said, I think it served me very well for what it is. You do have to pay for it. There are free plans. There are very cheap plans. I do this one just because it's what works for me, the $8 a month one. But there are free plans and there are really cheap plans that you can use. Oh, cool. You already know how to use WordPress. Neat. Yeah, I don't have any of the plugins. I saw that WordPress is starting to use AI now, and I immediately went and disabled the AI because it's already in the scrapers, but to prevent it from using scrapers in the future. So I've been thinking about getting a web designer to redo my site and get away from using WordPress just to avoid the AI, because I really hate AI scraping, but for what it is, it's done pretty well so far. Um, I don't know. Um, because the whole idea is that like you have to drive people to your website from social media, and like it's a whole funnel with social media marketing. Like it's taken me 3 years to get to the point that I have regular traffic on a daily basis. I'm sure not making any money from it, but I figure having an audience before I publish the book is better than publishing the book and screaming into the void. So, um, I've also seen like a rule of 1%, where it's like 1% of the people that you have in the top of your funnel will move to the next stage of your funnel. So it's like if, yeah, I'm sorry about the delay. Um, I'll try and talk slower. I've heard of a 1% rule where it's like if 1,000 people see your post on social media, 100 people will actually follow you on social media, 10 people will go to your website, and 1 person will buy the book. So I figured it was better to start building up an audience and promoting myself and doing stuff like this on social media, years before I was ready to publish. Like Runaways will be my debut novel. It'll be my first thing that I put out. But I've been writing and maintaining a presence online for 3 or 4, almost 5 years. By the time I publish, it'll be 5 years before I actually publish anything. And so then I'll have an audience of people that are willing to actually buy it when it gets published. It's changed over the years what I've decided to post. I decided to post weekly on the blog because I started this when I was in college and I was an engineering student and I did not have time to do anything but like write up a very short blog post once a week. So if you go back into my blog archive, at the very beginning it was like once a month, at the beginning of the month I do like a goal recap, and that's been pretty consistent. And then for a while it was like writing advice and then like a reading recommendation, and it was like a book that I'd read. And then the writing advice was all pretty basic. And then it was sometimes like an excerpt of my own writing, or it was just like I did a couple of interviews, but nothing super regular like what I'm doing now. I did character introductions. I cross-posted a lot of the stuff that I was posting on Tumblr. It was nothing super formal. Yeah, I posted more of my own writing back then. That was before the AI plague. And then at some point, I think I fell into a more regular routine of like the first week of the month, I would do a goals recap. The second week of the month, I would do some kind of book review. The second week, I would do like writing advice. The third week, I would do a book review. And then the fourth week, I would do like my own writing or something. And then during college, you got a lot more random of like just whatever I can come up with this week, because I was trying to keep my head above water, especially getting close towards graduation. And then more recently, I've had a lot more time and a lot more energy because I no longer have exams and homework to do. And I can work on this like around work. I have my evenings free, and I can devote a lot more time to this. And since I've been doing it for a lot longer, I also have a bigger community, and I have more connections and more of a network. So I have more people approaching me asking for ARC reviews, and so there's more.
like I have more time to read, and so I'm reading more ARC reviews. I'm not just like scraping the bottom of the barrel of like, I haven't read a book in 6 months, but what can I write about that's bookish related? Because I was an engineering student. um, so I don't know. It kind of depends on what suits your needs and your lifestyle. I eventually moved away from sharing writing advice because I felt like I wasn't qualified to give writing advice because I was, I'm not a literary major, I'm not, or an English major, I'm not a teacher, I'm not, I don't have any, I'm not an editor, I haven't taken any editing classes, I'm not in the industry, I don't have any experience with that, I'm just some person reiterating what I've seen online, and nor do I have any experience to back me up. Like, oh, I've like written 10 books and been a New York Times bestseller. I can give writing advice. I was watching a lot of Jenna Moreci, who's a pretty famous, not famous, but like a relatively popular like booktuber, author tuber, and she gave writing advice. So she was an inspiration, and she was why I was doing writing advice, but I wasn't qualified to give writing advice, and so I didn't do that. And so like booktube or book blur, um, book talk, like that gets a lot of attention, because of what's trending, but also I don't really read what's trending. One of my best posts to date has been a post I did on the Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and that was trending. But then people will like read that one post and then read nothing else. But sometimes they stick around and read other stuff. Um, I think that's the best way to build a network, though, is to make friends with the motivation of making friends. Like, I'm not trying to network for the sake of, hey, if I promote your book, will you promote mine? Like, I want to follow writers because I think their books are cool and I want to ask them about their stories and I want to make writer friends. And that's, at the end of the day, just all a network is who your writer friends are. A network is just the name for who your writer friends are at the end of the day. And I think building a network, it just means staying in a place long enough that you make a lot of friends. And that's hard to do, like I said, with social media imploding on itself every year. Like, I don't think I've seen a year go by without one or another major social media platform imploding on itself. um, and then all the users scatter to the winds. So if your friends don't stay put in the one place, it's hard to do. Um, but yeah, I don't really like networking for the sake of networking. And I think if I did network for the sake of network, my platform would be a lot bigger. I think if I followed the trends and did all of that and took the advice, I would be able to go viral. I know what it. Like, I'm friends with marketing majors and people who like know this. Like one of my friends was a marketing major and like a business major and like did this kind of stuff, and I know what it would take to do that. But yeah, I would rather prune it and like build a community that has better friends and is more like genuine, because it's that means more to me. Um, and I think that'll pay off, though, because at the end of the day, those are the people who are going to want to support you, and those are the people who are going to want to be in your corner because they're friends. They're not just, you know, every other post that I get is like, promote your stuff on Book Corner or promote yourself on the Writers Corner, and it's like, pay ads to like have your stuff promoted on this account that has like thousands or millions of followers. But it's like none of those have comments or like interaction or anything like that. There's no community there. Um, I don't know. the industry is a wild place. But I'm also planning to self-publish, so it's not like I'm gonna have a publishing house behind me. If you're planning to traditionally publish, like your agent will become your network. Your agent will become, and your publishing house will become your network. So like that's a little bit of built-in support. I think you'll still have to do a decent chunk of your own marketing. That you're not gonna have everything given to you, but you'll have you'll have some support from them, which will be good. Welcome. I'm glad you were able to make it. Yeah, that's awesome if your house could help give you guidelines. I am making this up as I go. I have no idea what I'm doing. Most of what I have learned has come from like watching other indie authors and like copying what they do. Or the way that I usually make friends is like finding the extrovert in the room and then holding on to them. Um, what I did is I found this one author on Instagram, Amanda Aller, and she's very social and very extroverted and like always is interacting and commenting, and she's got a bunch of author friends, and she's got like her little, not a clique, but like she's just got like a really big group of author friends, and they're all like genuinely friends with each other, and they like do meetups and retreats and like tries to promote each other's stuff all the time. Like it's a little circle of mutuals. And I read her books and I really liked them. And so I asked if I could interview her. And I was friendly and I tried to make friends with her and I was like commenting on her stuff and like trying to build up a relationship with her by just interacting with her. And then she like posted my things on her story and then all of her friends were like, hey, yeah, we'll grab you and put you in the mutual circle. So this is my default way of making friends, even in high school and in college. I would like join a club and then grab the extrovert in the room and then hold on to them because I don't know how to make friends otherwise. But that's a pretty solid way of doing it. Um, if you can and like still be genuine about it, but like if you find a book that you like or you find a friend group that you like, if you find a comp title for your book and you're like, wow, this is so cool, I'd love to pick this author's brain, they sound like a neat person, or you see a account that you like and you're like, they just seem chill, they seem like they have a good vibe. Most authors just you know indie authors specifically, because I'm in the indie author space, because indie authors are one person publishing teams, we are exhausted and we do not have the resources to like do a ton of promotion on our own. And so even if you go to somebody with the intention of like, I need your help with networking, not necessarily from like I have the energy for friendship point of view, they'll still take that because any like exposure is good exposure, um, any amount of like, oh my god, you're willing to publish my book, you're now my new best, you're willing to help me promote my book, you're my new best friend, is how they because if you're willing to help, after all of the work you put into publishing a book, after all of the work you put into your story and all the edits and all of the effort and all of the drafts and the formatting and the editing and the everything, like if somebody's willing to help you or like leave you a nice comment or leave you a review, like that person will be your new best friend. So I don't know. That's also a very easy way to like go about networking, I guess, or making friends in author spaces. Is that every author is, you know, kind of in a way looking to help their book get attention. And so it's very easy to make friends that way if you just do them a favor. Which is why I think my ARC reviews have been good. On my side, I get to read a lot of the books, so it's a win-win situation in that case. But yeah, there is a lot of content, and it can be overwhelming to have to sift through it all. But I think finding your audience, finding the niche that you need to be in, can help a lot to find the people that you vibe with. I hope that helped. I've been rambling for way too long. Yeah, I haven't really found that many middle grade authors either. I tag my stuff with middle grade, but I don't know. I think a lot of middle grade authors are traditionally published because traditional publishers get books into like libraries and um, schools and like scholastic book fairs and stuff like that. Um, so I don't think there's that many indie middle grade authors. I think publishing runaways, self-publishing runaways, is a bit of a risk. I think it could do well traditionally published, but I don't know. That industry scares me in a lot of ways. To each their own, but it's not for me. I definitely think there's pros and cons to each method of publishing. Um, but yeah, that's definitely it's hard to find middle grade authors on on social media. I think Facebook might be a better place to find them. I think a lot of middle grade authors also might be like moms, parents, teachers, librarians, people that interact with middle schoolers, children, and students on a regular basis. And I feel like that demographic is also more on Facebook. And I am not. I am in my 20s and I am on Instagram. So maybe that's why I'm not finding them, but I also really don't want to make a Facebook account because I had one and then I deleted it. And I don't want my family to find me on there. So possibly shooting myself in the foot that way, but oh, thank you. That's very sweet. I just realized I'm not following any of the middle grade book tags on Instagram, and so I'm gonna go do that now. Yeah, as much as I love Tumblr and I think it's a wonderful social media platform, I really don't think it's the target demographic for a subtly Christian fiction middle grade book about sisterhood, and it's fae and it doesn't have gay smut in it. Like, I don't know, not the demographic for Tumblr. I'm sure that I know you both on Tumblr, but I don't know what your current screen names are, and I accidentally put my foot in my mouth earlier by not recognizing that Junie Mooney was actually one of my beta readers, but I still feel bad about that. So, yeah, screen names and memory is not my strong suit, but that's why I'm at everywhere on the internet, so I don't have to think about it that hard. If you show up in my notes on Tumblr, then I probably know who you are, because I am terminally online. Also, it just occurred to me that I have to start thinking about cover design at some point soon, and I have no idea what the current trends are in middle grade covers. Soon as in after I finish my editing. I think one of the nicest comments that I've gotten on Runaway so far is that when somebody who was Arrow Ace being like, I appreciate that there's not a single love interest in this book, not a single potential love interest in this book. There's these two characters called the twins, Mateo and Marco. They're twin brothers, and it turns out that they're like 20 and therefore like 6 years older than Hannah, and very, very much therefore like not love interest material. And she's like, thank you so much for making this like such exclusively like a sister focused book. There's like nobody who's even eligible to be a love interest. There's no shipping potential at all. Like there's not even like a background character that could possibly be used for shipping fodder. And I was like, aha, yes, my diabolical scheme has succeeded, and so that was that was very satisfying. Yeah, we've got like 7 mentors and not like a single like peer who's the same age as the kids. And like Fae stuff is really big. It's really big right now in book talk, but it's all romantasy and it's all spice. And I'm like, that's not going into the traditional publishing sphere. If I put this into traditional publishing and label it YA, they're going to want spice and they're going to want it to be a romantasy, and I'm not going to let them do that to my babies. So that's a big reason why I'm scared to try and traditionally publish this. If I feel like I'd have to fight nail, tooth, and claw to keep it what it is. Yeah, I feel like romance definitely has its time and place, and it's a good genre, and it deserves to have a place. And I'm glad that the representation is getting more space in media and all that yada 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 yada. But that's not the book that I'm writing. Don't try and force it. You know? Yeah, that's why I'm making it middle grade. These characters are too young. They're trying to survive. They don't need the kind of a distraction. So yeah, I don't know. I'm I definitely feel like that's something I'm gonna have to put in my marketing though, is like just so people know what they're getting into. Yeah. Also, I love middle grade as a genre because kids have such a unique perspective on the world, and because it has the limitations of writing for kids where you need to keep it child friendly to a certain extent. There's certain topics that you can't breach, but also you need to deal with like dark topics and things. Like it forces you to be creative in how you describe things. Like I don't know, I love Avatar: The Last Airbender and how, you know, because it's a Nickelodeon show, you can't say kill or something, you know, but they are able to dance around so many dark topics in such an eloquent way. And then you go watch something R-rated like, I don't know, I haven't seen The Boys, but I've heard a lot about The Boys, and it just seems so flat by comparison. I don't know. Bye. I hope you enjoy your lunch. Thank you for stopping by. I'm glad you were able to make it. I'm gonna be wrapping this up pretty soon. Yeah, I feel like when you have like an adult or R-rated label and you can just like talk about it all in the obvious like on page on screen text, it becomes flat because everything's already on the page. It's all obvious. But when you have to explore it in the subtext, um, it becomes a lot deeper. It becomes a lot more nuanced, and I think the middle grade space is a lot of fun to play with. I just watched Mona last night, and it's taking all the self control in my body not to like rewrite this entire book just to be like Nimona, Nimona AU, because that's such a good movie. But yeah, it won't. I'm not gonna rewrite it to be Nimona AU, but it's like that's another good example of like dark themes handled in a very and like heavy complex modern themes handled in a very like kid friendly kind of way. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. Like kids have to go through a lot, like emotionally abusive parents, like you're saying. Like they're kids have to deal with a lot of darkness on a daily basis. Just because they're kids doesn't mean that they're not seeing gruesome things in the world. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be challenged with it in fiction and shown that there is brighter futures and there's ways to overcome that. It's definitely touchy. It's a careful line to walk, and so I'm dialing back some things in Runaways and being more careful about some things and rewriting over certain lines, and you know, generally kind of dialing it in and like smoothing off the rough edges. But you know, that's what edits are for. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I think whenever my draft is off with my editor in like a month from now, I think I'm going to do a real deep dive into the middle grade publishing industry. Because I know a decent amount about the indie self-publishing industry, but I think I need to do a deep dive into the middle grade publishing industry to learn more about how that works, how to market to a middle grade audience. Because you're not really marketing to a middle grade audience, you're not marketing to the middle schoolers or the kids who are reading it, you're marketing to their parents and their teachers and their librarians and their gatekeepers. And learning how to navigate that part of social media and the marketing world and how to reach that. And so as I do that research, I'll be sure to share it with everybody and how to try and connect to that kind of that vein. I think that will be good. I think that's a really important theme. I love that he stumbled onto a conspiracy because he doesn't like cake. Also, he's 11. That's an incredible pitch. Yeah, I'm not sure how to help with that. I think it's easiest to like just work it into the dialogue naturally or something, but I don't know. Yeah, the whole industry is just kind of interesting. Like I said, I'm a scientist, so I'm not a business major, but I just kind of look at this all from like a scientific method point of view, where it's like if I post this and change this variable, how would this change? So I think that kind of a mindset has protected me from a lot of the like self-esteem issues that come with social media. Matilda meets D&D. Oh my god, I love that. I would die for this child. I need you to know. I only met your protagonist 2 minutes ago, but if anything happened to him, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing about your book. I really appreciated learning about it. I'm going to start wrapping this up because I've got things to move on to and lunch to get. But I really appreciate you taking the time to log on this morning and chat with me. I think it's still on a bit of a delay, but I hope you were able to get some good words down on your short story. And I'm really glad you were able to make it.